Audio wasn't up. Now we're up.
Hey out there.
I'm sorry.
We're back.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
Don't know about you, but I'm still opening gifts.
Really? I had no idea.
That's what I was just saying.
Are you
Right.
saving one a day?
Yeah. Nice one, Alima. So, yeah, I'm just going to go check.
Go ahead. Continue working over there. And yeah, so basically we're just going to do like a check-in. It's been a while. It's been almost a month since we've been on, and a lot of things have changed. So we're just going to kind of do like a general check-in, and then even, you know, if people have anything they want to add, obviously on the YouTube site, you could always put something into the chat.
Yeah,
and then we could always contact that way as well. But basically, you know, the biggest things that I guess have happened since we've been last on is the pandemic has had another round of, another bout with that. So that's the most significant thing that's really impacted the three of us in terms of being, in the school, because we've had to deal with that, with our school has gone to a shorter day.
Yeah.
So rather than shutting down, which I'm glad we're not, because I do not want to just be sitting home.
Yeah.
I think that would make it more challenging in many ways, especially for the kids. The kids seem to have just kind of rolled with it, and just, we do have a number of kids who've been out, with just out, whether they've been contact traces or whatever. And then we're just plowing ahead a little bit and just trying to do what we can as normally as possible. But it's definitely deflating in a way to have to go through this again and another round of it, and here we go again, and just ramping up the safety protocols and being extra careful again and all that kind of stuff. It just adds to the anxiety of things just for everybody. So it's been difficult. I know with my children, again, going back to school, it's like another fear of like, oh man, they have all these different factors. I'm going to work, my kids are going to school again. You're trying to stay safe. CDC is changing guidelines every day, it seems, and you're just trying to make it through, kind of thing. So that's not the best way to live, is just that kind of like survival mode.
Yeah.
But I do feel like that's where a lot of people are right now, just in survival mode for many different reasons. And it's unfortunate, but this is going on 2 years now that we've been kind of the ebbs and flows of the pandemic, and we're at another point where we're in a battle here.
I'm finding myself having to be a little bit more forcefully understanding. Sometimes I look at a situation, I don't always see what other people are going through right now. And I don't know whether it's fatigue which is weird. I'm just throwing that out there. I don't know if it's, I'm having to be so thoughtful of my students that, all right, come on, inside it's like stressing about what, but what incredibly different worlds each and every student is living, right? They're going through all this incredible stress, incredibly stressful stuff, some of them. So I'm seeing a small rise in individuals that are having anxiety issues or need extra time, or their parents are reaching out explaining, the dire circumstances of what's going on. And it's just very strange to kind of hear that. And then on the flip side of that, part of me is saying, oh, come on, you should be used to this by now. But I'm just kind of painting the world, through my lenses.
That is not it. And even, like thinking about like how you're talking about it, and you said like thinking about things being normal, and it's like, from my position and being in my office, it's like things never even got to normal. Like it never got to normal because the mental health factors and how things changed since the pandemic started. Like there was no going back. Even once things were safe, the kids still had anxiety about this coming back, and then it happened. So now it amped up what they were initially fearing because we're already back in it. And then take into account the fact that like you're talking about safety and the different variables as far as like your kids are going and you're going to work. We have an abbreviated day or whatever you want to call it. Some of our kids have siblings who are virtual, but they're at school. So now they feel that they could be the person who now transmits the virus to their family. And they have that as an additional layer of fear coming to school every day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I today I was hit with some news. A student that I had maybe 4 or 5 years ago in the army apparently suffered from depression back then. I would never have known it looking at that individual back then. He took his own life, and that's all I know. And that's all I can say because I don't know enough about it. But I got stopped by a security guard. Hey, a student of yours. Well, it wasn't necessarily a student of mine per se, but took part in one of the electives that I had back then. And so I didn't know everyone as well as I do my sophomores and my seniors. But it kind of brought everything back to focus real quick today. Just realizing that things cannot be let up on as far as my work and everything that needs to happen with Mellow. But even in saying that, there's only so much we can do. The last few weeks have been so stressful trying to do the course that is meant to be going on with the yoga that I want to teach mindfulness. I want to do the meditation stuff. I want to learn about SEL. Not worried about if you can do a back bend or not, but it would be nice to have. And probably down the road, it's a bit beyond the scope of what we usually talk about. But I do realize that the mind, the emotions get wrapped up and trapped in the body in one way, shape, or form. Right? A lot of people don't understand that, Dave. But I'm joking.
I can do it back then. No,
I can watch someone do it back then. But yeah, it's one of those. Oh look, this is my shirt. I haven't showed you yet. Let me see. They signed off. Lifting others. So my wife has began buying me awesome shirts for momentous occasions, but yeah, it kind of it brought me back to. It just put more fuel back into the fire again, and just made me realize that this type of stuff, even if it helps one individual, or someone can go in and listen to some relaxing, for an hour, or watch a video, just help them sleep or de-stress.
Yeah.
It might be that one straw taken off of that camel's back, so to speak, so to help kind of quote unquote save the day. But yeah, stress is all around right now, and I was snapping at Dee a little bit earlier, and she was snapping back at me, and I was like, I think we need to get a little bit more rest, because we're at each other's throats a little bit. But yeah, I mean, real quick, this holiday season for us was probably one of the best on record. How was it for the both of you?
Womp womp.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say it's best on record. I mean,
really,
it was all right.
Yeah,
I enjoyed with the kids. I mean, that's how I see things now, just through them.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
We kind of scaled it back a little bit this year, which was good. We just tried to keep it a little more simple so that they don't, because they often get spoiled with things. We try to keep it a little bit toned down, just so they would appreciate the things that they got, and even things that, even if they got too much, I just put it away somewhere. So I'll give it to them as we go through the next couple months or whatever.
Bit like me and my open them up gifts every day. Yeah.
But they opened them all. I just put half of them away.
Yeah.
But it was nice that, it's just enjoyable for them to have like that magic of the season kind of thing. The innocence that they have with, Santa's coming, and I set everything up with the boot and the
Oh my
God!
God!
Did you really?
Yeah. So it's really, it's kind of cool to just go through and kind of have that experience, but at the same time, it was heightened sensitivity because of the COVID, and then it's like, you don't see as many people and all that kind of stuff, which is, good and bad, but it's really not something you want to think about during that time. So then you wind up, kind of staying around more locally and, stuff around the house for the most part. But I'd rather be out and about more, do some more socializing.
I actually got stressed about every time Dee would go out to drop off cookies. I'd be on my phone looking where she's been at that house way too long. I hope she stood outside, Like at this point, I'm starting to feel a bit invulnerable, which is like, this isn't even wood anymore, I don't think. But, it's, I don't know. I don't even want to jinx myself by saying, but how was your?
Don't say that, because I'm over here like dodging it. Like, everyone stay away.
Hey,
I think that this is the first time that I've been in a room with people that weren't like my husband, my son, and like my in-laws and mom without like a mask on. And coming here, I had like a slight bit of anxiety, like walking up the steps. I'm like, is this the day that it's going to happen?
No.
You know?
I took the test on Tuesday at school. I'm negative. I got my thing today.
yeah.
But it was the same thing. So like we got a call on Thursday that my son was exposed before the holiday, like going into the holiday. So then he couldn't go to school. So then, and then my husband wasn't feeling well. And I was like, oh no, what's happening? Like it was the worst feeling. Cause then it was like, I had to call my mom in Philly, like, oh, sorry, you can't come because you're supposed to be going to Paris on a trip. And if you come here and you get it, I'm going to feel awful. And then with traveling, ready? They had to get a PCR exactly 48 hours before going. The PCRs were all backed up, so they were at the airport waiting for them to come in. They told them to come back the next day. The next day they came back and it was in, and they were like, you can't go because it expired because it is after 48 hours. So they could not go on the trip. But since everybody was then clear and tested, they came to visit for New Year's. So that was the best part. Sorry, Mom, about the trip.
That's terrible.
Yeah.
Look, I mean, and to put it in perspective, a good friend of mine, I won't say who it is, but they have an extremely special needs daughter, and the wife ended up getting COVID initially, so I think she was having to stay in one part of the house, and then the daughter cannot get sick, you know, so everyone's on pins and needles. And then he got sick, so it was dressing up, you know, with everything that you could imagine just to take care of the daughter that could not. So yeah, we were kind of, our hearts were bleeding a little bit, just thinking, you know, what could we do? But yeah, you know, and I imagine that just a few days before the holidays. So yeah, you know, it's small things like that that really help me count my blessings. And but I guess I had all your fun. I don't know what's going on, but
Thanks for that.
Look, I mean, there were things that I wish were different. Some people did not reach out to me that I wish they did, but you know, it's just that ongoing thing that is to be my journey. But a few things have changed recently. Yeah. So let's have a look. So what should I say first?
They're both amazing. So
well, congratulations to my son Gavin and his wife Nikita. They're expecting a baby girl, Gaia. Beautiful name. And
congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. So we look forward to that. That's going to take place sometime in March. And the other thing was Monday, I was in Newark, New Jersey, as I became a US citizen.
That's it. Another American.
Press the button for like fanfare and confetti in the air. But, you know, it was just a long time coming. And not only for school to become tenured and this and that, but it was something that I wanted to do. I wanted to kind of, over the years, I was like, maybe I should do it now. And I just felt like it was a big ordeal, and I don't really enjoy learning about history these days. But, you know, to learn all the facts and the figures and the stuff that I did, it just kind of made me understand a little bit more about this country. And again, you know, just making the boat some years ago, and when I towed it across the United States, just falling in love with the country and just seeing all the different, from the city to the rural to the mountains to the lakes and the oceans. And it's just, yeah, what an incredible. And to think that literally anyone has got a shot at running this place, you know, which really is, well, I was going to say is a little bit like the UK, but not anyone can be queen. Not that she does run it, but you know what I mean? So it's just, you might not enjoy the politics. You might not agree with stuff that goes on from time to time, but everyone kind of has a bit of a fair shake. maybe. So that's what I like to think anyway. So yeah, it was just it was time. And as the individual was testing me, I said to him, come on, ask me the hard questions, because I'd learned all of them, and I was getting like 100 out of 100 when my wife was asking me.
So forgive me for not knowing. Is it all an oral and examination? Like,
for me, it was, because I've been in the country for 30 years.
Okay.
It was, I didn't have to do the reading, writing, and I think that was it. There was a reading, writing, and speaking. I'm there in the in the Newark office to be was it naturalized or what have you. So I'm there at the office just to become a citizen, and over the loudspeaker I hear, "Is there anyone waiting that can speak Haitian Creole?" And I was thinking to myself, and this is crazy, but it made me realize, because I'm thinking to myself, because this is like, if you're in this country, why don't you at least learn, but I guess it's like, what happens when a student comes to tech? They have to learn the language, right? And what's the deal with that? Is that a can of worms?
No, but you know what? Like, there have been situations where a student has walked in, they have lied on their application, and they don't speak any English. And we do have ESL classes, but it's integrated, and you need to be able to communicate with your instructor in some way, shape, or form. So it's like, I do understand what you're saying, but it's like, tell me this, because again, I don't know all the facts, so I have to ask, like, with them asking for that person, like, are there different levels, like, or different steps to this process that maybe that was somebody in a beginner step?
No.
Was that directly to become a citizen?
I believe so. To respond to the questions that were being asked.
Huh.
Isn't that interesting? Because now that's even more resources, possibly. This show's turning very political very quickly. Because now that's more resources that people have to spend to be able to understand someone's coming into my country.
Or it could have been the other fact. You know how some people have very thick accents. Like, there's some instructors at our school that people complain that they don't understand them because of their accent, but I can completely understand them. So maybe it was a situation like that where they couldn't understand in order to assess whether or not their answers were actually correct.
Nice save. Yeah.
But again, that in this country, there's enough diversity, even in language, where that person can live their whole life in this country speaking that language and be completely fine, because in their little corner of the world, that's what everyone's speaking. Right. So, I mean, there's places all over the place that have that. So, I mean, I understand that, again, I don't like the concept of everyone needs to speak English kind of thing here. Obviously, if it's a school setting, if it's a child kind of thing, coming up, they're going to need it for like the educational part. But, if that person's running in a restaurant or running a business in a local area, and that's their clientele, and it's some kind of authentic Haitian people are going to go there because that's as authentic as you can get, instead of an Americanized version of something. So, I mean, I would see it as they should almost be prepared for people. And maybe it's something that you could actually put out there to say, by the way, I'm coming in today and this is what I speak, so make sure someone's prepared for me coming in. But
I mean, talk about preparation. What about schools with all the different background that we have? Like, we have a liaison who, she speaks Spanish. She's fantastic. But what about all the other parents who don't speak Spanish?
All the other languages.
And then I'm like, do we have anyone in the school who speaks this? And we literally just search to see if
I've heard that over the loudspeakers at times. Is there anyone that speaks? I think once I heard, is there anyone that speaks such and such? I always wonder maybe a parent comes in, that's absolutely. So, no, but all it is, you learn literally what it is you learn 100 facts about the United States. Kamala Harris actually is one of the answers. You're welcome.
Nice.
1787 is another. 1776, July 4th actually is another. But we should
put those in the wrong spot. Like, okay, got it.
Yeah. Just say one of the dates was around 50-50. And but you learn the 50. They ask you 10 questions and you got to get 6 right. So one of my British friends said, I think I like my chances of that, of those odds. So I put up I put up the 10 hardest, of course, but I put up the 10 questions, and he's like, I eat my words, because some of them are quite, the rule of law that I learned, which was, here we go. Government
really veering somewhere.
No, but I taught myself like a little thing to do. So it was GLEN, Glenn, right, for the rule of law, and that was government and leaders must obey the law. E, everyone must follow the law. No one is above the law. So every time I'd answer, I'd do like that.
Okay.
And
the guy's like, what are you doing?
And I was never asked, so I was like quite bummed about that.
Can you just ask me that question, please?
Yeah.
I'm ready for it.
Go on, ask me. But so and then that was it. They did a quick background check. I paid child support, and they talked about are you all caught up? And as long as you're not owing like silly money or. So I'll tell you what was daunting when they ask you all the questions about have you ever been a vigilante, have you ever been a part of the Communist Party, and they're asking me all these fast fire questions, and I didn't want to be associated with some of the words that they were saying, acts of terrorism and this and that, and I'm like, are they going to read that little twitch? Is there a camera? Like, just super psychological stuff. But I hate official buildings and this and that because it's just hospitals and the likes, which actually is a topic for another day. So no, but look, I mean, it took 4 hours. It was a long time, but the actual ceremony itself, it was very nice. And the weird thing is some peculiar stuff. My favorite numbers are 4 and 14, chosen randomly when I was young. And I waited in line at window number 4, and then when I sat down in my position, I was 14th, and that's when they give me my, just strange, when I got my vaccine, I was in chair number 14. Just it always crops up at, I'm sure if I was sat in 15 and someone's in 14, I'd like, get out of the way. But so I'm glad that that's behind me, and now I can become tenured. So that's good.
I mean, it's an interesting point in the sense that as the world and as the country and as specifically our lives are all being impacted by all these different stressors, life does go on, right? We have to remember, like you have these great things going on with the citizenship, with the going to be a grandfather. Like these are great things that are happening. And we can't just allow that black cloud that's out there to impact all of our emotions to the point where it tampers down our happiness too. We have to kind of allow ourselves to have those moments and see the good that's out there too. And that's the hard part with teaching, I feel, and being in education right now, is that line when you have the students coming in and we're trying to balance all these things and attendance and who's here, who's virtual, all these different things. And we have our own stuff going on. We know everybody else has stuff going on too. You want to teach, but then you understand that if you push too hard, it's going to make things worse for them.
Yeah.
And then you have your own sense of integrity where it's like, I don't want to make things too easy. Mm-hmm. And then you get in this balancing act of where do I go with this? And you look around in the climate of the school and everybody's kind of like on edge and all these different things. And it's a difficult thing to navigate, and you just have to find your way and then maybe find a couple spots that kind of work out for you. But for myself, I've been scaling back, with the shorter class period. I've been making things slightly easier. I'm trying to still maintain a level of integrity with what I'm doing, with trying to hold them accountable. I gave a test today that was partially on paper, partially online, different levels of difficulty. I had to make 4 different versions. And then I had kids at home, so I had to make a PDF of it, email it to them separately, grade it separately, make sure I handled them. They had to be on the screen, monitoring them, monitoring the kids in the class if there were questions. There's so many moving parts, and then grade it all and compile all this stuff together. And then kids didn't see the back of the page. They didn't do this part. There's so many things going on. And you also have to keep in mind, like, what's best for my sanity at the end of the day too. So, you know, it's difficult because I do feel there's part of me that feels I'm doing a disservice by scaling things back on an academic level, because I'm like, they're in an honors class, they need to get, but I genuinely feel most of them don't even want it. They don't want it.
Yeah.
Like they're not ready for it. They're not interested in it. Just give me something to do. I'll do it. And let's keep it moving. And let me get to senior year. Let me get out of here. Let's hope things make it easy. So why would I, you know, kill my, I made things more challenging earlier on, and I got a ton of kickback on it from students, from parents. They were just not interested.
Yeah.
They did not care for my efforts to make things as challenging
Rigorous.
for their kid. Yeah, they didn't want it at all. They were all like, so many of them were resistant, and the emails I got from parents were like brutal. And then if I gave them a break on something to say, you know what, I'm going to take this out. That's something that you probably won't want to do. I'm going to make this a little bit. There's not even a twinge of anybody being interested. They're not like gracious. They're not saying thank you. They're not saying that sounds good. Not even an emotion.
I've noticed.
Across the sea, it's like
I've noticed
a
that.
sea of stone faces. Not even a nod of the head, or, you know, someone walking out saying thanks for, you know, considering that, or not, thanks for not giving us homework over the weekend, or thanks for not whatever. It's just completely checked out academically, but they still want those A's. They still want. So it's difficult to sit there, and even for me to even be motivated to say like, oh, I'm so excited we're about to get to satire and humor. I'm like, this is gonna suck. They're not gonna understand humor and satire because they don't get it anyway.
They're not embodying it.
And that's not what our world is like right now. Satire is like you if you say something satirical now or sarcastic now, you get canceled in a second. So I'm like, what's the world we're living in? So I'd like to bring that to their attention, but they're just gonna be like, what's on the quiz? What's on the test? Let me get out of here. Like, it's just.
But I think that it's like, now we have to like think in a sense, and as you were talking about, like, how do you even like conserve some energy for yourself with everything and trying to juggle all the different parts. It's like, think even how you took care of like yourself before the pandemic, and things that you used to do, and coping skills that you used to utilize that maybe people aren't using now. And I feel that that's what I'm seeing with a lot of our kids. Like, they used to do A, B, and C, but now because of the pandemic, they're stuck in a situation where they can't. So those coping skills are now gone, and now they're shutting down. So it's like trying to just help them implement new coping skills, but they're checked out. They can't even figure out a way to get out of the slump that they're in. And I feel like even you know, looking at myself, I feel like there's days where I'm like, I can't get out of the slump, you know. And then I see my kid, and I'm like, all right, I have to, you know.
Yeah.
So
I've had some talks recently with my seniors, and when I do, sometimes they're inspired by my sophomores, and then I'm like, you know what, yeah, that's a good one, I need to talk to my seniors. Then I'll kind of repeat the spiel, but it's not a spiel. One of the favorite things that I love to do is to go onto Instagram Reels, and we were talking about social media the other, you know, month, and how it affects us. And I think social media, we're lumping it all into one thing, and it's not one thing. Twitter and any way that someone can kind of chat to each other, I think that to me is the typical kind of social media where you're interacting, you're being social with other people. But the Instagram Reels has just been a pure delight for my wife and I. From kittens to inspirational quotes, and, you know, you name it. It's been a lovely little godsend, and but I do get lost in it's a trap as well, and because you just scroll and scroll and scroll, and after a while, a part of me is like, Andrew, stop. But one of them, I really wanted to show all of my students, and I can't because it's riddled with, you know, F-bombs and swear words and this and that.
what are you watching?
Yeah, no, it's like, so I think it was like some sort of cadet thing, and this lieutenant or general or whatever it is, or this business guy, I can't even remember what it's about. He said, all right, so you have made it, you're here now, you've got in, good for you. Do not just show up and expect to, you know, be everything's going to be easy, daisies and cupcakes, and you'll be able to put your feet up. Now you're here, you're going to work. You're going to use this place to your advantage. And I was like, wow, this would be amazing, like a calm down version of this for tech. And it was actually very akin, now that I think, to my supervisor, Joe Petroselli, the talk. Remember the talk he gave us one year? A little bit controversial back then. Some people, like, you know, weren't necessarily all on board with it, but I kind of liked it. And that's why I like him as a supervisor, because when he needs to, he'll put his boot where it needs to go. And because I need that sometimes. I need a shove. I need a quick slap. All right, thanks. I'll get back on with it, like, you know. But just to realize that it's such a special place, and now you've got in, whereas thousands of others have not. Don't waste your opportunity, because I get so many through the years, so many students, pandemic and not pandemic, not put in the effort, not take advantage, not realize truly where they are and what they got at their fingertips. You know, all these industry professionals, all of these, a lot of educators that really give a damn, you know, and taking that to look to its full advantage. So yeah, there's a few that I've watched, and I talked to them again about another subject, about craftsmanship. I don't want you to just do things for the sake of doing it. If I ask you to draw a line and put that line in a circle and put a cross inside a circle, I do not want to see the lines overlapping that circle. I want to see it mathematically perfect. I want to see it perfectly in alignment. I want to see it vertical. I want to see it horizontal, and it looks crisp. And I will zoom in to the smallest, and like a little nub would be just sticking out of this line. I'll go, see that there? That's where you might lose a job, and someone else might get that job because you didn't take care of the details. I'm not telling them off while I'm doing it, but I'm just talking about craftsmanship. Have some pride in what you're doing. And for some of them, for the right students, it is the right speech. And for some of them, a lot of them, it's not necessarily the right speech for graphic design. But I tell everyone it's the right speech for everyone, because if you take care and you put enough heart and passion into what you're doing, you're going to be like cream and rise to the surface, and you'll be seen above those that you're working with. So it's not, you won't have to kind of, look what I did, look what, your work will speak of itself. So it doesn't matter what you do after school, if you bring an air of craftsmanship to it. So, you know, just having these conversations with the students as it kind of comes to mind. Usually it's after a very big espresso.
Yeah, I worry a little bit about those things too, as far as like this group of high school students now, the pandemic kids, whatever you want to call them, like this group that's going through it and how they're handling it, and then also what they're doing in school and outside of school to make the most of their lives at this time. I just, you know, you only can do certain things in your life at a certain time. You know, you're only going to be in your teens once, kind of thing. So you want them to have some type of experience in what that's like. But you get the sense, you know, a lot of the students I see, I just like, they're not being teenagers. They're worrying about so many things that are way beyond their control, way beyond what I ever would have thought about at that time. Like, even in their socializing, they're talking about academic stuff. They're just saying, oh, you know, how was that quiz for so-and-so's class? And what did you put for number 7? I'm like, I never would talk about those things ever with my friends.
Right.
I can care less what the hell they're doing academically.
Yeah. Like,
what are you doing? Who are you going out with? Did you see what so-and-so looked like today? Like, they're not doing any of that. Nothing. And it's bizarre because it's just, again, it's a different generation. That's fine. But I just worry that at what point is that going to be like almost a regret of like, I worried about adult life when I was a kid. Now I'm adult. And I'm still worrying about adult things. I can't get back those innocent years or those times where I could live a little bit more carefree. Obviously, there's reason to be concerned about certain things that are outside of their control. But at the same time, like we're all trying to do, we're still trying to move ahead. Like, I'm sure with your son, like, you're not saying I can't do certain things. Like, yeah, you protect him, but you still want to go, like, maybe to a park or do certain things and say, like, yeah, he's a kid. I want to still do things, and I want to still have, you know, like with my kid, I want them to have some experience. Like, let's go. We went to the movies over the break. We were careful. We went to, like, during a time that nobody really goes. We went to a theater that nobody really goes, but we saw Sing 2, and like and it was my son's first time in a theater. My daughter loved it. They're shoving popcorn in their face, and it, you know, it's super expensive to go to a movie. I forgot all about that.
Yeah, things you want to forget.
Yeah, but at the same time, it was a great experience, and I was so excited to have that simple experience for a couple hours with my 2 oldest kids. And
we have a visitor.
Yeah.
Bed.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Come on.
I'm done.
Come on. I love you. This is my wife. Let's make out on video. Thanks, babe. She bought us waters.
Thank you.
I was like, I sent her like, I'm going, hun.
Oh my goodness.
Just those. So I said, could you send her water, bring up waters? And I typed like folk, because I know then her phone would go ding, 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 ding. Sorry.
But it's just the idea that we're aware as parents, we still want life to go on and still make things as normal as possible for them and give them a childhood and not just be like, well, I gotta hit the pause button until everything's okay. You know, see family if you can, and go to places, go to the park, socialize if you can. You know, if they're in school, whatever, like, you want, like, they'll figure it out anyway, but you don't want it to be where they don't get to have any type of experience. And I feel like some of the kids that we have are not really doing that, and I worry about that.
So this is an interesting, like, thing. Like, one of the English teachers was complaining about a boy, because you know how you can see their screens, you can see what they're doing on the computer, complaining about one of her freshmen looking up, like, how to talk to a girl, like, literally nothing like bad, but like how to talk to a girl. Like, that's what he was doing during English class. But again, if you take a step back and you think about it, this kid hadn't been in school. He's a freshman now. Hasn't been in school. Like, probably, like, never talked to a girl prior to now. Like, seeing all these beautiful little girls walking around. He's like, I don't know how to do this, and what do I do? And then even talking to some of my upperclassmen, they're like, I don't know how to talk to people anymore. I was home and I was isolated, and my parents were talking at me and not to me. I don't know how to socialize anymore, and anxiety about going to things. A girl was in my office the other day. She was like, I was invited to Sweet 16s, like 4 of them, and 3 of them have passed. I didn't go. And I'm like, well, why didn't you go? She's because I don't know how to be around people anymore.
Yeah.
Like, it's scary, like this. And it's like you're saying, you don't want them to miss out on these things, but it's like that anxiety that some of these kids have, it's more so the parents that are like, you know, no, you can't go,
projected,
like, you know, and now they're like owning it, and but it's also affecting their social. So it's like beyond this, and whenever the end or whatever that looks like comes to it, like, how are these kids going to be people who can socialize and interact and do that?
Well, think about this. What would we say is the most important thing in our lives, if you had to, like, pick an area of our life that we said, like, if this is the most important thing, probably like family and friends, right?
Right.
I think social interaction with others.
That's what I'm saying, right? Social interaction, right? So if that's not there, right, and they're just putting their focus on academic, again, at what point, like, people don't really work to work, they work to live, and then the living is like the socializing and the going out with friends and vacations and family and all that kind of stuff. And really, for me, like, that's all it was for me in high school and college, and early outside. Like, it was all social. It was, and that's how I found out who I was, by
like-minded people.
Many times, similar,
like good chunks would be in line.
Yeah, I mean, again, if I'm going out, I'm going out with people who are also going out, right?
Yeah.
There's a group of people who would be more academic. I'm not going out.
Like, you wouldn't be going out with people that weren't going out.
Right. But there's a type, right? I'm saying, like right now, these students, I would never see them anywhere if I was in school, because they would be at home.
Yeah.
And I would be with the people who would be out socializing, going to a New Year's party or whatever, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And, you know, going to the beach, going to a prom, going to the movies. We would always be doing something social. And again, they could be texting and chatting and things like that, and FaceTiming and using all the social media sites. But again, about making an actual connection with people on a human level and the intimacy of a hug and all that kind of stuff. But I just worry again that even as you're saying that, it's something that, hearing those specific cases, it makes it even worse for me to like, because I just kind of assume it's like that, but to hear it is actually like that, and there's specific cases where people are like, I can't go because I don't know how, that makes it even all the more worrisome. Like, at what point do we have to almost teach these things to be like, look, like I did at the end of last year, I did job interviews as my like final exam for my seniors, where they had to like sit down and talk about their grade and what their best thing was that they did and what they would do differently and whatever. And a lot of them just kind of floundered. Kids who you would think had very good, they did very well academically, but then when they came in, they really sold themselves short, most of them. Because I told them, I said, look, you're going to come in and I'm going to ask you questions about some of your worst assignments, and you're going to have to explain to me why you did so poorly. What did you learn from it? And I had kids who had A's all year, and then they'd be like, I think I deserve a C minus, give me a 70. And I'm like, why? And they're like, well, I could have done better. And I'm like, how does that make sense logically? If you got all A's and now you're just going to settle because they just don't have the confidence.
Yeah.
And and that's worrisome. Again, these are kids who were like top 3. I think the valedictorian was in my class. I had a couple other kids who were top 10 out of 800 and something students, and way ahead of me academically at that point. But I wouldn't have asked for this. I'd give me 100. Like, just have some confidence and just try to sell yourself, because how's that going to play in the real world? Like, how is that going to work in business or, in college or any kind of professional field if they don't know how to talk to people and at least, advocate for themselves? It's scary.
One of my most favorite things on the planet to do is to talk about subjects that I never get to talk about with like-minded individuals, and just kind of get lost in all of that. And you're talking, you're like, yeah. And, and we kind of expand on each other's thoughts and go down rabbit holes, and that sort of intimacy is something that years ago it would actually almost bring me to tears during that moment, because it was almost like, and it wasn't anything like sexual, but it was like loving that moment so much and having a moment. And then later on, it was because stuff like that would happen around 15, 16. I didn't know what that was at that age. I was like, oh, what's going on here? Like, I'm
I don't know what's going on here either.
I'm enjoying hanging around with this male individual. What's going on? But back then, thankfully for me, I kind of sorted myself out. And I think sometimes when you have not a misconnection with parents or what have you, but when something's not like 100% and then you get that elsewhere, one thing I've discovered very, very late in life is that my partner cannot fill every piece of piece of me that's missing, and there has to be other individuals that fulfill those intellectual needs, that get out and explore life kind of needs, and what have you. And that's been a relatively new thing. When I was 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, I was so jealous. Who are you talking with? Who was that? No, and I was of a size back then that I'd get in their face a little bit over it. I was such a moron, I really was. But that was my journey. That was my path and lessons to learn. But I love it, sitting down and talking about. I could list a myriad of topics, but I think it's all the things that I don't. Sometimes I'm sat with my wife and I'm talking about stuff. Occasionally she'll indulge, like the UFOs. she'll say, how can that not be real? And she'll give me a little bit of a glimmer of hope, and then she changes the subject real quick.
But you're exactly right. We have different aspects of who we are.
Yeah.
And we have different people who we go to for those different things, whether it's sports or, you're going to go out for a drink or whatever. You have different things that
Yeah.
these are the people I'll call when I need this, when I need that, when I need a laugh, when I want to go to the movies, when I want to talk about, trashy TV or
when
whatever
I
it is.
want to be my realest self and like most ratchet self. Like,
Right.
I call my best friend. I'm
Yeah,
like, all right,
exactly. Yeah.
I need you.
Yeah, exactly. And that's great because we know we're multifaceted, right? So we need to find those people in our lives, and that's what's important.
I don't know what that is.
What's that say?
Is it a robot?
I don't know.
Some
Robots.
Russian.
Thank you, however you pronounce that. But I just think it's, I don't know. Part of it is I feel really bad for the kids, but then at the same time, I don't know how much is in their control that they're really not even trying to be more. Because as I try to, my thing, Andrew, as you mentioned before, you try to have these talks with your kids, and I would do that as well.
Mm-hmm.
I just find that it's just deaf ears all across. It's like they're not. This is the first year I've ever had so little feedback and to the point where they're just like almost like get on with it. Like not interested in hearing about this. I don't want to hear about college, or I don't want to hear about this or that or whatever. And I just try to explain to them, look, take it easy, like relax. Like what do you want to talk about? And it's just crickets, and they just don't even have an idea or a topic or anything to even bring to the table.
It's less, for sure, in shop. We teach at a vocational school. So, for example, I teach graphic design, 3D animation, and I also do an elective for digital media. Digital media, not so much. I need to kind of speak to them about broader life things, but I do talk to them about how the lessons are valuable for them for different areas of life. But for my shop classes, because it is their shop, when I asked today how many of you are going to go to college for design, I had maybe 7 hands up, which I got to be honest, typically that's double what I usually get.
Right.
And it's not till later that they've got the skill, that they've left school, that they actually realize, I can actually make money doing this. And then they because I think they might get a little bit burnt out, or they're young and they don't realize that this is something that's going to be very good in the future. But right now the students seem to be kind of on board. I think I have 2 batches of students that genuinely like me, and
are they students you've had before? Does that, you feel like that's helped?
Some yes, but look, this is the thing that a lot of them want to do. So I just think because that's their main subject, it might be a little bit different than something. But even saying that, I was going to say yours is an academic subject, but it's the elite of.
They're not interested in it. They're not taking it because they like the course. They're taking it because of
they
the
want
credits.
the grade.
Yeah, they don't.
The GPA boost.
If you even asked all my students how many of them like to read, you're going to get 2 or 3 hands. It's like ridiculous. Like, and that's in an honors English class. How many like to write? Nobody.
Yeah.
How many like to read? Who cares? It's just path of least resistance to get the work done. They're not interested in the literature. They're not interested in analyzing characters. They're not interested in doing most of the stuff that I'm doing. They're just doing it because they're smart kids who are supposed to be taking high level classes. That's all it is. And that's all they've done, and that's all they'll do. So it's just business as usual, and it doesn't matter who's teaching it. Doesn't matter. It's just hit cruise control on honors. I got to take honors and AP, honors and AP, honors and AP for all the subjects, whether they're interested or not. And I genuinely think a lot of them don't even have an interest in any of those classes. They're just taking all of them and just doing them all, but not, again, as you said, trying their best or putting passion and pride into it. They're just doing them all and still kind of wondering, what is it that I'm going to do with my life?
Yeah.
And not having any direction, but they're just kind of like, I'm going to be better off for doing all this stuff. And I'm not so sure.
Yeah.
I'd rather have the kid who's only in honors English because he loves to read or she loves to write,
taking
or
all other general ed
and then
classes.
just saying, I don't care what your other grades are. You can get an A in my class.
Yeah.
and you can get all F's in the other class, and you're going to be a writer, or you're going to be an English teacher, you're going to be something like a journalist or whatever, and you're going to be the best at it because you have that natural tendency to do that, or you're going to be whatever. And
I think one of the positives, like you were talking about your shop, like somebody that graduated from tech just did some of the design stuff on Encanto. Like that's amazing. Like that one of our former students did that. So it's like the people in your shop who love what they're doing, they will do. And it's like
Yeah.
you can't try to push the others to do it. You're in a situation, again, they're just taking it for the grade, but you're in a situation where they decided to take this shop prior to coming to high school when they were 8th graders. Some of them didn't know what they wanted to take, and their parents chose it for them. Like that's the reality of like where we are and what you guys are dealing with right now.
Yeah, I got one particular student. I know her and her family very well. Her dad and I are friends, but she's got into making NFTs, not non-fungible tokens, and she's been accepted into these kind of high quality NFT websites. And you know, I said years ago, one thing you need to look at is Blender. It's like a animation software. I said we're not teaching it here, but it's something that you can teach yourself. Now, she might have been using Blender a while before I even suggested it, but she's just doing amazing things on Instagram, and you can just see where it's all going. And she's relentless. She just non-stop kind of attacking it every day. So you know, you get people that just they can go to school for one thing, but then branch off quite severely into something else. But that's the foundation of their whole future. So yeah, it came. I mean, coming back a little bit, it just it came as a huge shock initially, just to think back, you know, 3, 4, 5 years ago. Who is that one student I had in that one period class? And something that does kind of stick out was I think they were a little quiet maybe, and it's sad, and it just kind of makes you realize that or it makes you wonder, what could you have done? And what it did for me today, hearing that news, again going back to something I spoke about at the very beginning, was these students really are going through stuff, and we don't always see it. And you know, I have a you can't even talk about it because it just brings into situations that you know, it's should be private. So it's it's a tough old thing, and sadly I think we need to kind of stay focused that these things are going to happen, but we need to keep on, you know, plugging away, and each of us doing our own thing and keeping our eyes and our ears open and being there as much as we can for our students.
And finding ways to help yourself in the situation, like finding comfort in something, figuring out what that is that's gonna help you to get through it, whether it be jumping on your Peloton, or you know, going to the gym at 5:15, or doing your back bends when you're supposed to doing yoga. Like finding some type of outlet to make sure that you have at least one place where you can go that's peaceful, that's for you, that gets you out of it for a little bit.
I think everyone also needs to, especially for students, need to like reflect on and find out what they're passionate about, and at least start to explore that during this time, whether it's, you know, researching it, or just something that you're going to say, you know, let me try to see what I might do with myself, and how can I start to nurture that a little bit now, get in contact with somebody, correspond with somebody who's in the field, something like that, and just maybe start to look ahead at things and then better myself, and start to create maybe a plan, and see the career options that are there. Because a lot of it is just this, like I said in the beginning, about this survival mode, which just focuses on right now, and they can't see where they're going, and they don't know where they're going. And I had a student last couple of days was, you know, said, you know, how upset she was that she got waitlisted for a school. And I said, is that where you want to go? And she's like, I don't know. But she's like, I was crying about it. Yes. I said, and 2 weeks prior, she told me she got into Seton Hall with a ton of money and scholarships and stuff like that. So that's terrific. And and then all of a sudden you get waitlisted for a school, and it was like, and I said, you already have a school that you were happy to get. And it's almost like just because you got waitlisted, that's the problem. It's not about you wanted to go there. It's this fear of like almost like a failure type of thing, but it's not even a failure. It's a, you know, so I feel like a lot of the students have this too much of putting too much stock in this winning and losing and grades and what school am I going to get into and all that. It's not really that important, and it's hard to explain that to them because their reality is their reality. So it's hard. I always feel like I have to watch and not trivialize what they're going through because that is their experience, right? So yeah, they're 16 in my class, 17 years old, and they do things a certain way because that's the world that's around them, and they're on computer and more and phones and all that. And that's just the way their lives are, and they're feeling a certain way and all that kind of stuff. And it's just, you want to get them to snap out of it. You want to get them to wake up a little bit and have that pride and stuff like that. But I don't know. It's a very frustrating thing to constantly try to go back at them with a sense of like that tough love that we talked about almost, or a sense of encouragement, and then not feel discouraged yourself. To be like, I'm coming in there, I got an idea, this is going to be great, I'm going to do this lesson, or I'm going to give you this speech, or I'm going to show you this video, and you play it. I played a video that I thought I get like goosebumps from it. I'm like so pumped up, and I've seen it like a million times. It's just about like, you know, being your best self and all that kind of stuff. And I played it, and I'm like, any thoughts? Just nothing. And all my class, there's just nothing. And I'm like, not one of you get motivated from that, or you look at the quotes that were talked about. Or...
We've steeped in our own mental juices and fodder, right? So all the stuff, all the life that we've kind of lived through, and we've evolved and we grow, we're constantly growing through that. So we have a chance to look and get a little bit more wiser from all of the stuff that we've gone through. So when we watch a video, slowly it kind of takes hold. But I think rather than initial knee-jerk, you know, instant responses, it's the planting of a seed that over time is going to be, I remember that one video. And I think it might be like a bit of a mental back pocket of a situation where students will get into a situation, and then one day that will kind of rise to the surface. And it's because we've said those words, because we've played those videos, because they've sat down and had conversations with counselors and what have you, that that's when that safety net will kick in. And I think that's why we need to keep on trying.
Yeah. I don't know.
That's all we can do. That's all we can do.
It
right?
is.
Every day, just keep trudging, keep going.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got, and again, as Alima said, we have to like take care of ourselves too. You know, we have to make sure that we're putting our best product out there.
The veneer's been cracking a little bit lately. Yeah. We might have just had a you know, over a week off, but I've just just everything's kind of pushing in every direction. Oh, so another little thing is we have a couple of people leaving the school and a big position is being opened, and because part of this, but I could say because they're not going to be watching this.
I don't know who.
So the Lou from the print shop.
Oh, okay.
So more than likely he's stepping aside, and that's kind of my trade, you know. And I went from there into graphic design. I used to operate two-color Hamada printing press and what have you. So it's going to be keeping it all positive. It's going to be balancing educating the students and taking care of the needs for the school as far as everything that needs to be printed. It's a high pressure position, and I know where I stand on it. So things just need to be looked at and adjusted so it's the transition's smooth. But one of the things that was suggested was that I come in over the summer to learn. I'm like, I'm busy pretty much all summer. I'm me in the kitchen. So I'm just going to be renovating the entire kitchen. So, we're going to have to figure something out. But look, if it's me, great. If it's not me, great as well. It's all good. I'm good either way. But, but all of that is just adding to, but you know what I have not been doing for about 4 weeks? Meditating.
I was going to say meditating.
Yeah, I have not. Not done a
Yeah,
thing.
Get back
it's not
to you,
good.
right?
Yeah,
You gotta
that's
get
what
back to you.
do.
Like
you gotta get
Yeah.
priority.
even with like, and I feel like we're losing time. We're almost we're
Yeah,
done-
we're good.
almost
You
here,
have the
right?
last word. Alina.
Yeah, so even with like the fear of COVID, the one thing I did for myself was still go to the gym, and I was in a mask like we were in the beginning, and I still go and I make sure that people stay away from me. And it's like you have to find something that's going to help you stay sane and
Yeah.
make you feel good. And that's my thing, and everybody else has to find theirs.
Yeah, right. Good point.
That's it. Find your thing, everyone. No euphemism there, just some good advice. So welcome to 2022, and good to have you back, all three viewers. Sorry, didn't know what that it's probably a link or something by a robot, like Dave said.
That's
But,
lame. I don't know.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Some hieroglyph.
Yeah. But anyway, much love. Thank you so much. And we'll see you same time, same place next week.